Hello everyone, it's Callum from Cagefront here. Welcome back to another video, and if you are new here, welcome to the channel. We have another Fighter Spotlight tier list video here today, and it is on none other than Aaron Pico, who is an amazing KO artist. He has fantastic wrestling and is looking like an absolute hype train coming from Bellator into the UFC, and I'm very keen to see him. And if you haven't already, definitely check out the Fighter Spotlight video I just released before watching this video, because I fully explain Aaron Pico, his history, his fight style, his striking caliber, his wrestling caliber, his BJJ caliber, and key points coming into the UFC. So I'll leave a link there at the top in the corner of the screen. But what we're going to be doing in this video is we are going to be ranking him against the top 15 featherweights, as well as a couple of others as well, because featherweight is a bit all over the place at the moment. So without further ado, let's get into the tier list. And here is the tier list. So as you can see on the screen, we do have best matchups here, which is in green. So they are going to be the best matchups for Aaron Pico, which I think that he can win pretty convincingly. And it gets harder the further we go down, going from green to red. And nightmare matchups are going to be the matchups where I strongly believe that he is not going to win. So that's pretty self-explanatory there. And when we look at the fighters that we've got lined up here, the first two, Bryce Mitchell and Patricio Pitbull, they are both not ranked at the moment. So it is a bit of a mix-up with the featherweight division because of Max Holloway and because of Ilia Topuria, because they are both still ranked, but they've both moved up to lightweight and they ain't coming back. So we have to deal with those rankings accordingly. And to fill the numbers, I mean, Patricio Pitbull, in his next fight, he could definitely get a ranked fight, to be honest. And Bryce Mitchell, he's always someone that's going to be circling around those ranking positions. He is good enough to be ranked, but, you know, he's someone that's always going to be there around that area because he is a personality. And with our favorite flat earther, we are going to start with him. Now, Bryce, I believe that he is going to be in the slight favorite position. And I know this might sound a little bit confusing, but slight favorite Aaron Pico is going to be the slight favorite against Bryce Mitchell. So Bryce, the reason why I don't have him up here, where I think that he would be a pretty moderate to strong underdog against Aaron Pico, is because of his BJJ. His BJJ does save him and makes him ultimately a bit more tough to deal with, because he does have like twister submissions. I mean, he's got very articulate abilities on the ground that Pico is going to have to deal with. And the grappling overall of Pico, when it comes to actual submission offense to defense, isn't bad, but it's the worst part of his game. Now, why Aaron Pico is a favorite over Bryce Mitchell, I mean, firstly, the wrestling. Bryce Mitchell's a good wrestler. Aaron Pico is a better wrestler. He is a very, very good wrestler, and Pico is a forward pressure machine. He's got KO power in his hands, and he's been stringing really nice combinations together. And Bryce, when we've seen him, especially in his last couple of fights, loves circling around the outside. Absolutely loves it. And that is not what you want against Aaron Pico. So when it comes to on the feet, Aaron Pico is winning that fight. In the wrestling exchanges, Pico is winning that fight. When it comes to a BJJ scenario, that's where Bryce Mitchell does have that opportunity, but that's the only reason why it's saving him from not getting pretty much completely destroyed, in my honest opinion. Now, moving on to Pitbull. Pitbull, I'm going to be putting him in the evenly matched, to be honest. He's kind of close-ish to the slight favorite. He's evenly matched because of his age more so. I mean, he'd be going into that slight favorite more so because of his age, because he is getting a lot older. But Patricio Pitbull on that linear angle is very dangerous. And Pico isn't someone that really uses a lot of lateral movement. He does like staying on that center line and being in the pocket. And that's where Pitbull does have nice counter striking. But Pico is very explosive. He has very good wrestling, where Pitbull does not. That's Pitbull's hole, is the wrestling itself, and that's where I think that could take him over. But then obviously Pitbull as well. Pitbull's got like double-digit submission wins on his record, and that's where he could catch Pico with a submission. The submission is the kryptonite here, and anyone that has them to a decent extent, Pico definitely has to look out for, and that's where I think it is going to be evenly matched, because the KO power is on both sides. The wrestling's on Pico's, and the submission base is going to be on Pitbull. So it's pretty close there, but closer to a slight favorite. If those two are going to fight, I would just be picking Pico, to be honest. Now, moving into the actual top 15, we have Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar, he is getting older. He's taken a lot of damage in his career. He doesn't really look that hungry. I mean, he didn't look that hungry against Youssef Zalal, except for that last round. And again, it's very similar to like Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell, if Bryce didn't have that grappling, then he would be an A in that best matchups. But then Calvin Kattar, if he didn't have the boxing pedigree, he would be in here. But I'm putting him in the slight favorite category just because of that boxing and that durability he has. But that's where it's a problem when it comes to the other side of things, when it comes to his technical abilities, because the ground game and the takedown defense overall, Kattar's takedown defense percentage is completely overrated, and that's what Aljamain Sterling completely exposed at UFC 300. Calvin Kattar has like an 80 to 90% takedown defense, but it's against no one, realistically. No one of caliber in the wrestling, except for Aljo, has tried to take him down, and Aljo absolutely just suffocated him for 15 minutes, and Pico most likely, honestly, would be able to do the same thing. It's just the boxing pedigree. That's where I think Pico might face a little bit of a challenge, because if Kattar's on the front foot consistently, that's where it's going to be a bit dangerous. We get a Kattar that fought Giga Chikadze, that's where it's going to be up there instead of that best matchups. That's where it's going to be in the slight favorite. Now, Dan Ige. He's a tough guy for a lot of people, realistically, because he is just tough in general. He's very durable. I mean, we look what he did against Sean Woodson. He hung through the first 2 rounds, did a fantastic job in the third to get him out of there. Bullshit late stoppage, but he was going to finish the fight anyway. And Dan's a guy that has that experience. He has got experience against a very strong caliber of opposition, and he's got pretty good boxing as well. Definitely there with Pico. The wrestling, when it comes to Pico, I think that is definitely going to be something that can be utilized against Ige, but it's not going to be as clear and concise against like Kattar and Pitbull. That's where I think he's going to be an evenly matched, closer to the tough matchups, I do believe. Ige is someone that definitely doesn't really run out of steam as well, and Pico is someone that doesn't run out of steam either. So I think that these guys are just very close overall. I think Ige, with the experience especially, definitely does make this tougher, but when it comes to that pedigree of Pico's just KO power, that power that he has, the rips to the body, and his wrestling overall, I can't put Ige any lower towards that tough matchup against Pico, realistically. Now, moving on to Youssef Zalal. Youssef Zalal, he looks fantastic fighting out of Factory X, so he is very good at finding singular shots like lead knees, and just he's very tricky with grappling as well, and that's something that could be utilized fairly well against Pico. But the thing that I absolutely hate when it comes to Youssef Zalal is when he is pressured. When he is pressured on the back foot, that's where there's a lot of opportunities for Pico, and Youssef Zalal is not going to be someone who, with him getting pressured, he's not just going to be able to level change and get Pico down. Pico's wrestling is just way too good. I don't see that happening, and that's where I think it's honestly going to be a slight favorite, to be honest. I would be taking Pico in that fight. I mean, Youssef Zalal does look incredible at the moment. He's got a lot of momentum. He looked great against Kattar in those first 2 rounds, but as we saw in the 3rd round, when he was getting pressured back, the guy was just running the whole entire time, and he's running against a guy in Kattar who doesn't have takedown offense. Now, imagine that against Pico, who realistically does and can pressure so effectively. That could possibly be a fight where it could be the first time Youssef Zalal actually gets finished. So I'm going to be putting that in that slight favorite. Now, moving on to Giga Chikadze. And Giga Chikadze, I'm going to spoil it in this video, which is going to be in my next video, which is matchmaking the featherweight division. Very heavy featherweight division week this week. But Giga Chikadze, I do believe, could possibly be Dan Ige or Gene Silva, but I do believe that Giga Chikadze is going to be Pico's debut fight. I do believe that it can happen, because Giga Chikadze is someone that does have good striking, but the pressure on the back, when he is on the back foot, like what Calvin Kattar did to him and what Pico can do to him, there's opportunities for Pico to absolutely annihilate Giga Chikadze, but then at kickboxing range, Pico isn't the greatest, so it opens up some questions as to whether Pico can actually deal with Giga at that range, and if Giga can keep it at that range. So there's a lot of questions, which makes good fights, and I believe with the constant pressure though, overall, I'm going to have to say I think it is the best matchup that Pico can have. Giga is dangerous, don't get me wrong. I mean, especially with the liver shots and everything, with his Giga kick, but the pressure that Pico applies consistently is not a back foot fighter. If Giga can't deal with that, I think he's getting chinned. I think he's honestly getting chinned, or he's getting absolutely suffocated and possibly submitted. I just think there's a lot of avenues for Pico over the better disciplines of Kattar's safe forward pressure boxing, the BJJ of Bryce Mitchell and of Youssef Zalal as well, and his durability. Whereas Giga's getting older as well. I think that's where it's going to be more of a problem for him. But I do believe that could honestly be the matchup to make alongside Dan Ige and our next guy, the Tasmanian Devil, damn Gene Silva. This guy, he is tough for everyone. Absolutely tough for everyone, and that includes Aaron Pico, because we haven't seen the extent of Gene Silva in terms of exploiting weaknesses. Like, we haven't seen any real weaknesses from him. He's so good on the front foot. He's got so much confidence. He's got momentum on his side. He's got the KO power. The thing with Gene Silva, though, that I find with his base, it's extremely wide, which does allow for good counters, and it allows him to be a lot more springy, which he's shown. But he leaves his lead leg, it just literally there in the open to take. That was a bit of a tongue twister, but he leaves it there to be taken, and that's the thing against a very, very good wrestler, which Gene Silva has been taken down before against Charles Jourdain and in training, but the difference, and a lot of people were obviously barking on about Bryce Mitchell taking Gene Silva down and then Bryce Mitchell being able to win that fight. Gene Silva's takedown defense looked incredible against Bryce Mitchell, but Pico is a better wrestler than Bryce Mitchell. And Pico running the pipe and hunting a single leg and dragging it to the ground is extremely possible. But on the other side, Gene Silva obviously has the submissions. I mean, the ninja choke was fantastic against Bryce Mitchell. But the issue is the KO power of Gene Silva and that submission game overall. Just the offensive threat for Pico that Pico is going to have to deal with. They both got power in the hands, but the exploitation of Gene Silva and how well his submission game is actually developed that we just all haven't seen before to possibly take Aaron Pico out. I think that is where it's a tough matchup. Just the unknowns of the submission ability, along with his confidence and his KO power. I think Pico fighting Gene Silva as the first fight is a dangerous one to take, to be honest, because the guy's got no identifiable weaknesses. Now, moving on to Josh Emmett. We know Josh Emmett, he's got the power equalizer, but on the opposite side, the wrestling caliber, I know Emmett's got a low base, like he's got a low center of gravity, he's not as easy to take down as people think, but the problem is Pico is so good at mixing up striking combinations to then go into level change, and I think that would work fantastically well against Josh Emmett. And I think that is where Josh Emmett is honestly going to be in that slight favorite category. Very close to like an evenly matched, to be honest, because of the power equalizer. But we can't forget Emmett is getting a lot older. And yes, he's always got that power there, but yeah, just on the side of like, you look at Lerone Murphy and the ability to manage that distance like he did. I think on the flip side, in terms of a specialty, Pico with his wrestling specialty, I think it's just going to be something that Josh Emmett simply has not severely faced before. And that's where I think it's going to be a lot better for Pico in that matchup. Don't get me wrong, Pico could absolutely get chinned, and he has been chinned before, and if Emmett lands, he could definitely take him out, as Emmett could literally take out anyone. But I just think, especially with that age, magnifying that, I think he's more of an underdog in this matchup, but still close to an evenly matched fight. Now, someone with the wrestling that does equalize it a little bit more is going to be Aljamain Sterling. And Aljamain Sterling does have the submission threat there as well. And I believe that he is someone that is going to be able to definitely, obviously, equalize the wrestling, but when it comes to the ground game, Aljo is not someone that's going to be able to really take Pico's back unless Pico gets hurt, which Aljo is not known for hurting people. But the thing with Aljo on the feet is Aljo is actually very underrated in terms of actually circling out appropriately and utilizing like lunging strikes, like not with power, just utilizes it at range to keep fighters at range. And Aljo is someone that is good at being pressured backwards and being able to take someone down while he is on the back foot. And that's where we could possibly see Aljo take Pico down. There is that possibility there, because Aljo, in relation to that form of wrestling, the MMA wrestling, he is fucking good. He is very, very good. We saw what he did to Peter Yan in their second fight. He is definitely good there. He just can't get caught. That's the only thing, and that's where it's going to be evenly matched. The striking overall, Aljo a little bit weird to deal with. Pico's got the KO power there. Then the wrestling's equalized, and then Aljo possibly with the submission threat there. So that there realistically just spells out it being evenly matched, to be honest. Now, moving on to Lerone Murphy. Lerone would definitely cause a very interesting matchup for Aaron Pico, because we know Lerone is fantastic at kickboxing range. Very, very good, and very good with his timing when he is getting pressured. I mean, look at him against Josh Emmett. The timing of his elbows, timing of his knees was really, really good. He's very good at putting Muay Thai into his game in those tight pressure situations. Very, very good at it. Very good with the timing of those strikes. Now, Lerone obviously is undefeated. He's got the momentum. He's got the confidence on his side. He's got better kickboxing at range, and obviously the counter striking along the outside. So on the feet, Lerone is dangerous. Is definitely dangerous for Aaron Pico. When it comes to the ground, obviously that's just all Pico. So it's realistically just a severe clash of styles there, with Lerone honestly having no real hope of honestly out-grappling Pico, but Pico having the potential to find that shot on the feet. So that's where I do, if Lerone had any stronger like submission-based game, honestly I'd probably be seeing him here, but I'm going to have to put him in a tough matchup. These two are interchangeable as like the highest likelihood to go to tough matchup. Lerone is definitely, obviously, very, very good when it comes to that striking and that kickboxing range, which Aaron Pico does not have a lot of experience in. Now, moving up to Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega, he's someone like Bryce Mitchell and Youssef Zalal in the fact that I would be putting him up a rank like around here, but I'm putting him in C. Because of his specialty in the BJJ. His caliber of BJJ is very, very good, and if he didn't have that, Pico would be having a pretty nice time against him, to be honest, because he's durable, but he's slow. Ortega is slow on the feet, ultimately, but the thing that Ortega does have is very nice timing on his elbow, similar to Lerone Murphy on the feet, and he does have fairly underrated boxing. It's just the fact of the matter is Ortega against Lopes is just way too fast for him, and we obviously got to see what happened, but he still didn't get taken out. So it's extremely impressive with that durability. But Ortega's grappling on the ground, especially off his back, is extremely dangerous for Pico. And that's what Pico, granted, he's got the wrestling, don't get me wrong, but that's something with the submission defense where Ortega could find a win, to be honest. But that's where the striking overall and the control of Pico, if he can manage the control without getting submitted, that's where he is more so favored. But then it weighs down again because of Brian Ortega's BJJ. So I think that is pretty fair that is evenly matched. Now, Arnold Allen, this guy against Pico, I would absolutely fucking love this fight, because the close quarter explosive striking of Allen, against that kind of boxing from Pico is just going to be an absolute clusterfuck of awesomeness. Like, it is going to be a wild fight, and Allen better at range and can honestly definitely compete with the close quarter striking without a doubt with Pico. I think Arnold Allen ultimately is a better striker, but the ground game, that's where it equals out again. It just equals out, because if Allen's getting taken down, which I think he honestly could against Pico, I mean, Allen has shown good takedown defense. He's definitely, honestly, he is like the closest to that tough matchup for sure. He's got that, he's definitely dangerous on the feet. He's got the strike speed as well. We saw that against Dan Hooker, but he is susceptible to be getting hit as well. But I just have to put it that evenly matched for the wrestling. Like, if Pico wasn't as good as he is with the wrestling, then Allen would definitely be a tough matchup for him. Now, Yair Rodriguez. Yair looked fantastic against Patricio Pitbull. And his kickboxing, his taekwondo base at range is going to be very, very interesting for Pico to deal with. It obviously has never fought anyone near to that extent of that kind of striking. And that's where I think Yair could definitely find some success, without a doubt. But biggest hole, without a doubt, just a crater, is it's the takedown defense, you know, like, he kind of invites the takedown, and Yair being on the ground, if he can't cinch up a triangle like he did against Josh Emmett, I think he's in a lot of trouble, to be honest. Even though he packed on a lot of muscle, looked very good against Patricio Pitbull, I think that's where the problem's going to lie, and that's where I got to put him in the slight favorite category. I do believe he's closer to that evenly matched. I'll flip these around, actually. So this is closer to here. That's where I think that's going to be a bit of an issue. I just think that the takedown defense and the grappling of Yair, in contrast with Pico's offense, is just going to leave a crater there. If Yair can stop the takedown somehow and keep that on the feet, he could definitely, honestly, KO Pico. There's definitely a chance there, but I think the wrestling there is just too much. I think it's just too much from Pico. Now, we're moving into the higher guys now. I mean, we've got Movsar Evloev. Movsar, this guy is going to be tough. He is a tough matchup. I'd probably put him above Gene, to be honest, because of the wrestling caliber. I mean, potentially from Pico. I mean, but it hasn't really been proven against high caliber opposition like Evloev has shown. Evloev is the best wrestler. He is the best wrestler in this division. I mean, he is very, very good. That Aljamain Sterling fight, my lord. He looked great, and he has got very good boxing. He's got the experience there over Pico. I mean, his boxing is just kind of neat and tidy. Pico packs more of a punch, as we know, decision merchant, whatever. But Evloev, the guy has very interesting, sneaky little single shots that he works on, especially like little flying knees in there, which Pico has been knocked out by a flying knee on a takedown entry. So there is definitely opportunities for Evloev with the striking that he has shown. And yeah, just with the wrestling overall, Pico isn't going to necessarily struggle. I think it's just going to be very, very stalemated there. But Evloev's experience and the strikes that he does use are definitely going to make it tough for Aaron Pico in that matchup. It's close, but I still think with that experience, that's something that's definitely pulling through. Now, Diego Lopes, the guy, unfortunately, lost at UFC 314. But this is somewhere where I believe that he does beat Volkanovski, and he is the nightmare matchup for Aaron Pico. Definitely the worst, because Diego Lopes has the strike speed, he has the aggression, he has the power, and especially when it comes to the striking and the power within the clinch, we saw what he did to Sadiq Youssef. Aaron Pico, we have seen a flaw where he exits the clinch and does not protect his chin, where he got absolutely chinned, absolutely floored, folded like a fucking lawn chair. And if anyone's got the capabilities of doing that, it is Diego Lopes. And it's not only the striking there in terms of the speed and the power. Obviously, when we look at Pico can 100% take Lopes down. But Lopes, as we all know, he fucking invites that because Lopes would love to be on his back against Pico because of the submission arsenal he has. Off his back, the best submission arsenal here in the featherweight division by a country mile, without a doubt. And that's where Pico, when it comes to submission defense, the highest likelihood of him getting taken out. I mean, Lopes has got the striking arsenal to deal with Pico effectively, and the submission aggressiveness and offensive ability overall to deal with the wrestling. That fight is where Pico honestly definitely should be an underdog, and that's where I think he will honestly get taken out in that fight, whether it be 3 or whether it be 5 rounds. Now, on to my lord and savior, the champion, Alexander Volkanovski. Volk, this guy is an absolute beast. He is going to be tough for anyone, and that is going to be tough for Aaron Pico included. Because Volkanovski is a point-style fighter, is very good at fighting at range. Aaron Pico has fought nowhere near the caliber of fighter that Volkanovski is. Volkanovski, if he was any younger, he would be a nightmare matchup because Volk is extremely strong, very strong with the wrestling. Is he a better overall decorated wrestler than Pico? No, he's not. But he has proven when it comes to the wrestling within the cage more so. And Volkanovski, the leg kicks, chewing the outside leg of Pico. Pico is very susceptible when it comes to outside leg kicks because he has a lower base and he loves to stalk the opposition. So where those leg kicks come in, I mean, Volkanovski is definitely going to be wanting to chew those legs to bits. And Volk is just so good at circling out away from that power side. And I think he has honestly the best ability to frustrate Pico here, but just when it comes to the age overall, that's where I'm not putting him in the nightmare matchup. That's where he's going to be in the tough one. So ultimately, as you can see from this list, we've got some guys that are around the top 5, like your Ortegas, Lerones, and your Allens, where they are more so evenly matched, and the tougher guys are literally pretty much only guys that are in the top 5, as well as Silva, who's just an anomaly. This guy is crazy, and he will be in the top 5 eventually, but that's where I think Aaron Pico does belong as well. I believe he does belong in the top 5 eventually. Can he be a champion? Him being 28 years old, definitely possible, especially if he works on submission and striking defense. Those two things, if he is working on those effectively very well, then he is going to be a nightmare for sure for a lot of these guys. And yeah, ultimately, I think that he does belong in the top 5 to the top 10 coming into the UFC. I know Giga's not in the actual top 10, but I believe that if you're Aaron Pico, is probably the smartest fight to take. Now, I really hope you enjoyed today's Fighter Spotlight tier list video, and if you haven't already, definitely check out the Fighter Spotlight video on Aaron Pico, which I'll leave on the screen now. And please like, comment, subscribe. It goes a long way for the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.